Thank you, Jane. Good evening and welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. An inquest finds that neglect at a private hospital contributed to the death of a Rotherham mum after what should have been a routine operation.
We were just all in a room, we didn't know what was going on. It was just a bit overwhelming.
Maxine's family are campaigning for better facilities in private hospitals. Also tonight. Labour win the election for Mayor of Doncaster, but Reform make huge gains in the city's council elections. A £20,000 reward is offered for information about the death of a young boy from Huddersfield who was killed almost 30 years ago. In training for the world's highest marathon, whilst living with incurable cancer, we meet the woman from West Yorkshire who's at the top of her game.
And it's been rather pleasant out there today. It's been dry, we've had good spells of sunshine, but will it stay sunny over the bank holiday weekend? I'll have the very latest towards the end of the programme.
Hello and thank you for joining us this Friday evening. An inquest has found that neglect at a private hospital contributed to the death of a South Yorkshire mum 6 days after what should have been a routine operation. Maxine Spittlehouse died last year following a hysterectomy at Kinvara Private Hospital in Rotherham. She'd been admitted as an NHS patient. Her family have petitioned for better facilities in private hospitals. Tom Ingle has more.
It has been an unquestionably traumatic week for the friends and family of Maxine Spittlehouse, particularly her husband and daughter. They've listened with dignity in court as her final days were retold.
She liked all sorts of music, going to concerts. She liked 80s, a lot of 80s.
Yeah, and 90s. Beatles, she looked Beatles, didn't she, and John Lennon.
Elvis.
For me, it's like having three lives. Like I had a life before Maxine, I had a life with Maxine, and now it's a life sort of without her, but still having a, with me sort of thing.
In July last year, Maxine underwent an elective hysterectomy after living with pain and heavy bleeding caused by fibroids. It was carried out at Kinvara Private Hospital in Rotherham. She was an NHS patient. In the hours afterwards, she suffered with pain and sickness. She had begun to bleed internally. As her condition worsened, there were repeated overnight discussions between medical staff about transferring her to Rotherham District General Hospital. But by the time this happened, several hours later, in what turned out to be an emergency move, it was too late to save her life.
We just sat round the bed, didn't we?
Yeah.
We turned the machine off and...
We were in there for a really long time.
She took her last breath, didn't she? And
Yeah.
That's the most heartbreaking thing you'll ever go through in your life.
Summarising the evidence, the coroner said Maxine's death was avoidable. She recorded a narrative verdict, which said Maxine underwent a hysterectomy. She displayed symptoms indicating internal bleeding, but those symptoms were not recognised or acted upon. Neglect contributed to her death.
Not only was Maxine failed by those responsible for her care, Kinvara Hospital lacked important equipment to help diagnose and treat her internal bleeding. There is no requirement for the private hospital to have specialist consultants on the ground overnight, or CT scans, or blood testing facilities, or blood for transfusions, which is why we are calling for total abdominal hysterectomies to be carried out at fully staffed and properly equipped hospitals.
The Rotherham NHS Foundation Trust said their deepest sympathies were with Maxine's family, and everything possible was done to try and save her life in the short time she was in their care. We've approached Kinvara Private Hospital for a statement, but received no response. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Doncaster Coroner's Court.
Next tonight, Labour are celebrating victory in the mayoral election in Doncaster, but Nigel Farage's Reform Party has won huge gains in council seats in the city and enjoyed success elsewhere. Ros Jones will now serve a fourth term as the city's mayor. She narrowly beat Reform UK's Alexander Jones by 698 votes. Ros Jones's share of the vote was her lowest since her first election in 2013. The Conservatives finished third. Elsewhere, Reform gained control of Nottinghamshire County Council, taking all 4 workshop seats and winning in Blyth and Harworth. In North Yorkshire, the first ever town councils were elected in Harrogate and Scarborough following the creation of North Yorkshire Council. Reform won a majority in Scarborough. And in Harrogate, the Liberal Democrats won convincingly. So let's cross now to our political editor, James Vincent. He's at Doncaster Racecourse, where counting continues in the council elections there. James, it's all yours.
It's been an extraordinary afternoon here for Reform in Doncaster. I've never seen a party go from 0 councillors to so many in such a short space of time. It is an all-out election, all councillors being elected, but a few minutes ago Reform were on 22 councillors and Labour were on 4. Reform are very much heading to be the majority party here in Doncaster, but they won't actually be running the council. Some of the notable people being elected for Reform this afternoon: Alexander Jones, who was their mayoral candidate, who missed out by 700 votes to Ros Jones. He's been elected as a councillor. There is another councillor that was involved in some offensive posts that had been reposted to Facebook. He was criticised during the campaign. He's been elected as a councillor, but they will have a group of councillors, and that's one of the challenges for Reform now, is to form that group, elect a leader and be part of Doncaster Council. They ran a campaign that's got them these seats. They now need to help run the council. That's one of the big questions which we'll get onto in a second. But last night it was Labour that were cheering. They squeaked over the line ahead of Reform by 700 votes. Ros Jones re-elected as the Labour mayor for Doncaster. Here's what happened last night.
In the end, there were so few votes in it that some Labour supporters wanted to see it written down before they quite believed it. Ros Jones had hung on as mayor by 698 votes. Just to put that in some perspective, her majority in 2021 was over 10,000.
And I do hereby declare that Ros Jones is duly elected.
Labour joy, Labour relief.
The people of Doncaster have spoken. They saw through the division and misinformation, putting their faith in me once again.
And as candidates walked off stage, it was time for the interviews.
Hello, young man.
How are you doing? Sorry.
It's about jobs and growth for the people of Doncaster, and that's what I'm here for.
And what lessons do you need to learn? Because Reform were very, very close.
I think the lessons need to learn is everyone needs to listen what our people, our businesses are saying.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It was a similar result to what happened in 2024. The right vote was split and it let a Labour candidate through again, which is what happened last year. So, yeah, extremely disappointing.
I think it was a really positive campaign. We focused on delivering our message and my 4-point plan, obviously support the airport, and I think as a whole I'm really happy with how it went, and obviously to push the Labour machine that's been established for so many years so close says a lot about the popularity of our party at the moment.
So there are some really big decisions to be made by Ros Jones, the Labour mayor, and the Reform group on the council. Who works with who? Do they play nicely? Ros Jones, because of the mayoral system, she might only have 4 councillors at the moment. She only needs another 2 councillors. In fact, she only needs 2 in total, and her to run the council as a Labour mayoralty, even though the majority party in terms of councillor numbers is Reform. Are Reform going to work with the mayor? Is Ros Jones going to invite any of those Reform councillors to be in the cabinet? And what does it mean for the mayoral system in total? It can only really change if people want it to change, involving a petition and then a council decision on whether it should change. That decision is effectively then down to Ros Jones. But what for the future of Doncaster and this mayoral system that they've had for 23 years? And what do people in Doncaster think? They've got effectively 2 different parties trying to run the city. We went out to speak to them today.
Reform, because I believe they've got a better vision for this country going forward.
Reform, because I'll tell you why. The immigrants that are coming in this country is ridiculous. We've got old people that are going hungry and starving, and the bills, what they're paying, it's unreal.
Voted for Labour, Ross, because I think she'll get the airport open again. Very close, because I thought that Nigel Farage is doing really well, Reform UK, but it was a toss-up between them 2.
I didn't vote yesterday. to be honest, I feel it's a waste of time. They're all in it to line their own pockets, aren't they? Look after themselves and their own.
Do you feel there's an opportunity for you to have a voice and say what you want the priorities to be for where you live?
My voice counts for nothing.
And we got a hint of what was going to happen in Doncaster this afternoon a little earlier on, because Reform took control of Derbyshire County Council and Nottinghamshire County Council. Here's what they had to say about that.
I had a lot of people come up to me and said, we're all voting Reform UK. Every one of them I would stop and say, am I actually imagining the tide that's coming in, or is it real? Every one of them said to me, this is real. I'm voting Reform, my partner's voting Reform, and every friend I've got is voting Reform.
Doncaster, Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire were our only real elections this year. There will be plenty more in parts of West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire next year. It's going to be really interesting to see what Reform do in those.
James, thank you very much, and we'll have more on the late news. A £20,000 reward's being offered for information about the death of a 7-year-old boy from Huddersfield who was killed in a suspected arson attack almost 30 years ago. Joe McCafferty was asleep at his aunt's house in Marsh in May 1997 when someone poured petrol through the letterbox and set the house alight. No one has ever been charged over the attack, as Nicola Rees reports.
Haywood Avenue in Marsh. A street where 28 years ago a little boy went for a sleepover at his cousin's and didn't come home. Joe McCafferty was 7 years old. He was killed in a house fire that was started deliberately.
Joe wasn't even supposed to be here. He didn't live here. He was visiting, so he wasn't the target. What was the motive?
It's a question that West Yorkshire Police haven't been able to answer despite a major investigation. Joe's aunt and cousins escaped the fire. His brother Nicky was rescued, but Joe suffered severe burns and couldn't be saved.
It was the early hours of the morning, the children were asleep, and someone poured petrol through the letterbox here and set the house on fire. It was horrific. Joe's family have had to live with the trauma of what happened here for 28 years. And in all that time, they've had no idea who could have done this or why.
Joe's mum, Tracy, has made many emotional appeals, including this one on the 12th anniversary of her son's death.
I wake up, Joe's on my mind, I go to sleep, he's still there. This is because I have no closure. Joe was innocent, he never hurt anybody. As a mother, you never expect to bury your children, I shouldn't have to. Since Joe died, I've tried to move on with my life, which I have to a certain extent. But how can I move on never knowing who set the house on fire?
Over the years, the family have been critical of the police investigation, but the man in charge today believes the case can still be solved. He's launching a new appeal for information backed by a £20,000 reward.
For the last 2 years, we've done a full review on this case. We're working with our forensic partners to establish if there are new forensic leads and techniques from items recovered from that original investigation. But ultimately, we need somebody to come forward with the name of the person responsible. We can then look at the forensic techniques that are ongoing and try and match them to anything that we're recovering from the scene.
How do you reassure the community then in a case like this where you've got someone who has got away with murder?
We continue to actually review offences of murder. No case ever gets closed on an undetected murder in West Yorkshire or throughout the country. Somebody knows something. Why was 28 attacked? It wasn't Joe. Why was that petrol poured through that letterbox? Come forward and tell us. Let us get to the bottom of this and get justice for Joe and for Tracy.
Police say a single phone call or email could finally end a decades-long investigation and bring justice for Joe. Nicola Rees, BBC Look North, Huddersfield.
Footage showing drivers, cyclists and pedestrians acting dangerously near oncoming trams in South Yorkshire has been released. South Yorkshire Super Tram shared the CCTV video to mark World Day for Safety and Health at Work. In a post on social media, the transport body said every clip shows just how quickly things can go wrong when people don't stop, look both ways or stay aware near crossings and platforms. The first acts have been announced for the Bradford Life entertainment venue. TerraVision, Diversity, Rob Brydon and his fabulous band, New Model Army and Joe Wiley's 90s anthems are just some of the names lined up for the 4,000 capacity venue. £50 million has been spent restoring the former Odeon Cinema, which closed 25 years ago. More acts are due to be announced in the next few weeks. Sounds fabulous. Now, a busy weekend ahead for our sporting people. Sally, you have all the details.
Yeah, absolutely massive. You probably don't need me to tell you. It's a huge weekend of football. The season finale, the last game for clubs across our region. The day dreams are made for some and shattered for others. For Leeds United and Doncaster Rovers, promotion is already assured, while Sheffield United, Bradford City and Chesterfield are all hoping to go up as well. And for our towns and cities, the ripple effects of footballing success can provide a welcome financial boost, as Phil Bodmer has been finding out.
Most football fans know what pain feels like, but this is to mark the joy of promotion.
Well, I've been a Leeds supporter for, well, obviously all my life. I've always thought about getting one, and with the promotion, it's time to get it done.
Success on the field can have a ripple effect off it. This tattoo studio and beauty salon in Wakefield has seen an uptick in bookings to celebrate Leeds United's promotion to the Premier League.
Up until we got promoted, I'd only ever done one Leeds United tattoo, and that was on a friend. Since we've been promoted, I've got like, I think 9 or 10 booked in now. A couple of them are like partners and stuff that are coming in for matching Leeds United tattoos, so definitely a big increase.
At the Leopard in Doncaster, they're optimistic Rovers winning a place in League One next season will boost trade across the city.
Basically, with Doncaster being where they are, they attract away visitors to Doncaster, people who wouldn't usually come to us. The higher up the leagues they go, the more fans the club have. This year we'll have some bumper games with Barnsley, Rotherham, Bolton, Blackpool, Cardiff. All them will fetch an increased footfall to the town. That won't just benefit our pub and our pub at the Dome, but all the local economy and restaurants and hotels.
While local businesses hope promotion will bring financial benefits, the clubs themselves will also be assessing the implications of higher league status.
Doncaster Rovers will be looking at around £1 million to a couple of million uplift in revenue linked to the TV broadcasting contracts, and it is a big jump for them. But Leeds United, you're then getting access to £100 million a year in broadcasting money alone, and there you can see the kind of stark gap between the leagues.
Back in Wakefield, the downstairs beauty salon is also witnessing football fever, while upstairs, after more than 2 hours, the artwork is revealed.
Absolutely brilliant. Done a fantastic job.
Is exactly what you wanted?
Yeah, perfect. Couldn't ask for any better.
How painful is it though?
Quite.
At the Trinity Shopping Centre in Leeds, a 306 square metre Smiley Club badge adorns the dome roof. Meanwhile, over in Doncaster, they've already witnessed a boost in trade following Rovers' end-of-season run-in.
How was Saturday with Bradford?
Really good, mate. Yeah, nice busy day.
As this season comes to an end, football fans, alongside some businesses, will no doubt raise a glass to the start of the next. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North.
Quite the tattoo. Also hoping for automatic promotion this weekend are Bradford City. If they win tomorrow against Fleetwood, they'll be joining Doncaster and Port Vale in League One next season. 24,000 fans will pack out Valley Parade for the biggest game in their modern history, which will also feature a half-time performance from our very own Bantams of the Opera singers. Here's just a taste of what's to come.
Make no mistake, Bradford City are shifting the narrative. They're changing perception. History makers, record breakers. They are achieving new feats.
My main thing is getting out in this league. Just to get out of the league will be absolutely unreal.
I think it sounds unreal! We are going to get Bradford City fans singing opera. We want to get those opera singers singing on the pitch at the end of the season. I wanted to pay my respects and make sure the world know all about this tragedy that happened in 1985, and this is a way for me to help that cause.
I know what I'll get judged on. It'll be success on the pitch. We want to be on that bus ride or that picture at the end of the season. It's amazing, it lives with you forever.
The tide is turning and belief is being restored to Valley Parade.
So a big day for the Bantams, but it's not just about Bradford City and Doncaster Rovers on the final day of League Two, because keep an eye on Chesterfield tomorrow. The Spyrights still have a realistic chance of squeezing into the final playoff place, especially if they win at Accrington. They also need Salford and Grimsby to stumble in their matches, but in Chesterfield's first season back in the Football League, that is a brilliant effort already, and there could still be more to come.
The supporters have really enjoyed the year, albeit we've had low moments in it, you know, which today, as we speak now, there's no need to go over. We travel to Accrington tomorrow with great optimism. Again, we'll take great travel and support. I think last week probably epitomised how far we've come as a club. Big home crowd, stadium looked brilliant, team done okay, you know, and we'll put ourselves in a position now where tomorrow's game means a lot.
And a quick look at the cricket, because Yorkshire are back in county championship action at Headingley against Warwickshire. It was probably worth being there for the sunshine on day one and to see Joe Root and Harry Brook at the crease for Yorkshire. I'm afraid Joe Root didn't stay for long though. He was caught at slip for just one run. Harry Brook though managed to show his qualities. Here's one of his lovely boundaries through the offside, which helped him to make 33. Yorkshire were all out for a first innings of 205. And if all that wasn't enough, don't forget it's Super League's Magic Weekend, with all the teams heading to St James's Park in Newcastle for a feast of rugby league. Amanda.
Busy, busy. Thank you very much, Sally. And sticking with a sporting theme, climbing a mountain or running a marathon are challenges most of us will never achieve. But imagine doing them both in the space of just a few days, and all while living with cancer. Well, Dr. Shauna Burke from Addingham near Ilkley is about to take on the world's highest marathon just after she scales Mount Everest. She was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. Abby Jayola has been to meet her.
I've got my headlamp because we will be setting off when it's dark.
Shauna is preparing for an epic challenge, climbing a mountain and then a marathon back down. Gruelling for anyone, but she's living with incurable cancer.
When the diagnosis hit, it was a complete and utter shock, and I was just very much surprised by it. I still have cancer cells in my body because my diagnosis is stage 4. It's incurable, which means that I will be controlling the disease for the rest of my life. But having said that, I'm fit and healthy, strong, and looking forward to the next challenge.
She's a professor in exercise and health psychology. Using this expertise, she devised her own plan to continue exercising during her treatment for breast cancer.
Parking my car 3 miles away from the St James Hospital, running to my radiotherapy appointments, and then running home. I also ran on the morning of my surgeries, so very much exercise was an important part of my prehabilitation program, and I continue to exercise throughout my treatment, so right through the 4.5 months of chemotherapy, multiple surgeries, and radiotherapy.
Shauna is no stranger to extreme challenges. She was the second Canadian woman to summit Everest in 2005. She first decided to tackle the highest marathon in the world before her diagnosis.
I made the decision that I wasn't going to cancel my race entry. I was going to defer it to this year. And I've held on to that goal since that moment. And so for me, it's about going to the mountains is life affirming. It's about proving to myself that I'm still able to live fully while living with an incurable cancer diagnosis.
I'm spending an hour at a simulated altitude of 2,760 meters.
She's been training for the high altitudes to prepare for the low oxygen environment. Shauna is mindful of the toll this adventure could have on her body, but for her, it's a risk worth taking.
My body will be taxed, my body will be pushed, and I will be physically, I will be tired. Psychologically, it's going to give me the biggest boost that I've experienced since my diagnosis. And for me, the psychological element of battling a diagnosis of incurable cancer is just as important as the physical. So I'm hoping that the psychological benefits will outweigh the physical.
While Shauna climbs and runs, she's raising money for Macmillan Cancer. And guess what? She's already planning another challenge. Abby Jayola, BBC Look North, Addingham.
Wow, absolutely incredible. Best of luck, Shauna. Now, on to the weather prospects. We've had such a lovely week, Katerina.
We have.
I've got a horrible feeling it's not going to last, though.
No, of course. The weather knows it's a bank holiday weekend, so of course it's going to change. We had the record breaker yesterday, the warmest start to May on record. But over the weekend, it's going to feel much fresher. I mean, by Sunday, we'll be down to 11 degrees. Now, this morning, we did start off with quite a bit of cloud, a bit misty along the coast. But you can see from the second photo just here that it really did brighten up quite nicely through the course of the afternoon, and at times today some of us have actually had clear blue sky, but there are some clouds just gathering out there at the moment, but it should be a clear night a little bit later. So thank you as always for sending in your pictures. If you'd like your picture on the telly, you can send it in to us via social media. The details are on your screens now. So over the bank holiday weekend, I'd say the better day is most certainly going to be tomorrow, Saturday. It's going to be brighter, there'll be good spells of sunshine around. Sunday and Monday, there is going to be more cloud, but I think a good deal of dry weather as high pressure continues to dominate. So we've got this cold front that's going to work its way southwards, change of wind direction just behind those winds coming from the north, hence why our temperatures are really going to struggle over the weekend. As mentioned, Sunday highs of only around 11 degrees, but high pressure is set to continue right through next week. That's going to dominate, so a lot of dry weather to come, and temperatures should lift by the end of the week. So it's going to be dry and clear out there tonight. Perhaps a little bit of mistiness along the coast, and our temperatures under those clear skies will fall away to 6 or 7 degrees. So a chillish start to tomorrow morning. Your next high waters, we've got Scarborough at 8:56 tomorrow morning, and Filey at 9:05 also tomorrow morning. So it'll be a dry and fine start to Saturday. Good spells of sunshine, just the chance of a few isolated showers through the afternoon, but I really do think you'll be very unlucky to catch one. Most of those will clear by the end of the day, so it's going to be a beautiful end to Saturday. Lots of sunshine around. It is going to turn dry, and temperatures inland 17 degrees. But if you are heading to the coast, it's going to be much fresher here, actually chilly. Highs of 13 degrees of that onshore breeze, and more cloud around on Sunday, and also bank holiday Monday, but a fair amount of dry weather too. There we are.
Still not too bad. Are you working this weekend?
I'm off this weekend.
Oh,
you?
Lucky you. No, I'm working Sunday. Well, if you're not working, do have a lovely weekend. Goodbye.